haven't been here before, was not born here, didn't even come here for a visit. I had the Canadian passport, but that was the only Canadian in me.
When the pandemic hit last 2020, Joy, who was 20 years old at that time, decided to flee to Canada from her family in Turkey.
In the middle of the pandemic, when nobody was allowed to travel and the only people that could travel are nationals going back to their country, I was like, let me hip it up, Canada.
Her parents used to live in Canada, so she got her citizenship from them.
They had my 3 older siblings here, and then when they were pregnant with me, they decided that they can't live in a free world, I guess, and so they moved to Syria. And since then, we've been moving around in only Muslim countries.
Joy got in touch with the Canadian embassy to help her leave Turkey.
They already had records from when my sister tried to run away, my older sister. And so this was going to be the second file with the Canadian embassy against my dad. Another major thing was actually how they were planning an arranged marriage for me.
She escaped while her mom went grocery shopping for a couple of hours and while her dad was out of the country.
I never actually had my passport on me. Every time we traveled or anything, it's my parents that would do the process, and they kept it in a locked safe in the house. I had to observe my mom for months, and I had to go after her and see how she opens it and what the combination is.
She hid at her friend's apartment until she asked the embassy for help because she felt unsafe.
She calls my dad and he calls all these people. There were at least 10 or 15 men out there looking for me. I called the embassy and I was like, I'm not safe here and they're trying to force me to go back. So they sent a tinted car, a van in the middle of the night, and I had to get in there, and I went to a safe location.
The embassy booked her flight to Canada. Joy was met at the airport by an army of police because her family had reported her missing. She called the embassy to report the situation, and an ambassador went to help her.
The way she screamed at those people, she was like, do you want to start a war between Turkey and Canada right now? She was like, do you really want to mess with this? She was like, she's an adult and she's not Turkish. You have zero jurisdiction here.
The police kept questioning Joy until her plane had already taken off. She had no choice but to go back to the safe house. She stayed there for 2 more weeks until the embassy could get her a new ticket.
I had an officer with me that was aware of all the things that were going on, and he talked to all the other officers and the passport check control people.
When she arrived in Canada, she lived in a shelter and got a job at a jewelry store with the help of the Covenant House.
And they got me in touch with people that would help me get started, because I didn't have anybody here, didn't know anybody here, had no money, nothing.
The government also assisted her in receiving intensive therapy and joining support groups to help her heal and begin a new life.
It took a huge toll on my mental health, and for the first 6 months that I was here, I used to get nightmares all the time. I would wake up in sleep paralysis thinking that I'm still at home.
Joy later moved from a shelter to a group home, where she said she got mixed up with the wrong crowd.
I didn't have the skills to differentiate between people that are good for me and people that are not, because I grew up with people that are not, and that was the norm for me.
When Joy had COVID and was not allowed to leave her room, she was looking for something to do and she came across an advertisement for a pageant called Miss World Canada.
I was one of very lucky 14 girls that got picked out of thousands of applicants.
Joy eventually stopped hanging out with her friends and put all her money into the competition. She also struggled while competing due to a broken ankle. For Joy, winning the crown is not the reason why she joins the pageant, but for the experience and to wear dresses she can't wear before because her family's religion requires her to only wear a hijab.
Growing up watching Disney movies in secret and doing all these things, I'm like, that's all I want out of life, is to wear a pretty dress and be around pretty people.
While she was competing, she also decided to return to school and study creative advertising at Seneca.
Like, I always knew I have to go back to school, right? There's no way out of homelessness without an education.
Joy is now living in a government-provided transitional home. She is preparing to move out soon and find her own place.
This is not home. Technically, I am still homeless, but I am transitioning out of that.
Joy's future goal is to publish a book about her life and help other women who went through the same struggle she had.
I want to be a symbol of hope for people that really think that there's nothing good in life after you leave a toxic situation and you find yourself in another one.
For Say News, I'm Cheryl Havaliana.